Hello, my name is Christian Omoide, a student at Southern New Hampshire University. So currently I'm working on the project called Government and You under the Contribute to the Society goal. In this project, I'm going to explain much more about the way the US government operates by exploring different government branches and their laws and their connection and how they work with each other. I will also talk about the political parties in the US politics, talking about the major ones and the importance spread by others that are not most, the two reading, I mean the Republican and Democrats. Lastly, I will give a brief explanation about how the process of making law rego from the proposal of the Senate. As I will be helping the citizen to understand much about this operation of the US government, I will use the help of some local citizen to help and tell us what they already know. And from that, I will provide a clear explanation from what they already know or correct some of the confusion for what they have or what they don't understand. Furthermore, I have used the two citizens who was willing to give their consent to be interviewed for the purpose of this project. Today we are on 29th October. My name is Christian Muire. I'm a student in the Bachelor of Arts program with Coach for America at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a government and you project I'm working on for the contributing to the society goal. The interview will be used to create my government and you deliverable and submitted to the College for America so that my project can be evaluated. This recording will be used solely for this purpose. The interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and College for America staff will have access. Do you have any question?
No.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yes. I. My name is Dusabe. I give my formation concept to participate in this interview to be recorded and used as a party of the students' academic work.
Okay, thank you. Now I have a question that I'm going to ask you. So, the first question is, what are the three branches of the US government?
There is legislative,
Yes.
judiciary, and executive.
Okay, thank you. Then the second question is, what does each branch do?
Implementing laws, enforcing laws, and implementing laws.
Okay, thank you. So the third question is, Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. So please, can you name the third party?
There is white party.
Okay, thank you. And then the fourth question is, what is the basic process by which a bill becomes a law?
I think it becomes a law after being signed by the president.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Dusabe, for your time and consideration.
Thank you too.
Today we are on 29th October 2021. My name is Christian Omoire. I'm a student in Bachelor of Arts program with College for America at Southern New Hampshire University, and I'm conducting this interview as part of my academic work. With your consent, I will record this interview and use the information in a government and you project deliverable I'm working on in contribute to the society goal. The interview will be used to create a government and you project deliverable and submitted to the College for America so that my project can be evaluated. This recording will be used surely for this purpose. The interview information will be temporarily stored in the College for America online evaluation system, to which only the evaluator and the College for America staff will have access. Do you have any question?
No.
Do you give your consent to be interviewed and recorded?
Yes. I, Y. Marys, give my informed consent to participate in this interview to be recorded and used as a part of the student academic work.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Marys. So I have four questions I'm going to ask you. Then the first question is, Um, what are the three branches of the US government?
The three branches of US government are executive, legislative, and judiciary.
Okay, thank you. What does each branch do?
The legislative implement the laws, executive enforces the laws, and judiciary interprets the laws.
Okay, thank you. The third question is Democrats and the Republicans are the major parties. So, please, can you name the third party?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. And then the fourth question is what is the basic process by which the bills becomes a law?
The bills become the law when the president sign on it.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Marys, for your time and
You're
consideration.
welcome.
As I said it above, that I will provide a clear explanation from what the citizen already know or correct some of the confusion of what they don't understand. Here are my clarification. From the first question that was asking the three branches of the government, I can reply by saying that there are three branches of the US government. That is the legislative, executive, and judiciary branches. Then the second question that was asking what does each branch do, I can say that the legislative branch implements the law, the executive branch enforces the law, and the judiciary interprets the law. Also, these three branches work in a conjunction to ensure the most effective government operation. Below is how they work together. Legislative, this branch is there to make law. It is composed by the Congress made of House representatives and the Senate. Briefly, they have the following laws: to make the laws, confirm or rejects the presidential nomination for heads of federal agencies, judge or the Supreme Court depending on different factors and reasons available, and they are the ones authorized to declare the war against any other nation. Secondly, the executive, this one carries out or implements the laws made by the president, vice president, cabinet, and most of the federal agencies. They are all voted to serve their terms. President leading the country, vice president assisting him or her, and ready to lead in case the president is unable, and the cabinet serving as the advisor of the president. In one sentence, I can say that the executive branch is there to lead the citizen to obey the confirmed legal laws. Then the third there is judiciary. So the primary law of judiciary is evaluating the law. It is made by the Supreme Court and other courts, and their main role is to evaluate the law to ensure that they are not against the Constitution and therefore applying them to the citizen. So as a reference to more details about this, I refer to the US government 2021's article about the branches of the US government. Therefore, there is a connection lies between how they are nominated and work with each other. According to this same source, the legislative is in charge of confirming the presidential nomination of heads of federal agencies, courts, and others, which shows their influence on the executive and what happens with the judiciary. It is also in charge of drafting the law. On the other hand, judiciary also evaluates the law to ensure that it doesn't violate the Constitution, which shows the influence of the judiciary to legislative work too. Executive has the main role of carrying out the law and being composed by the president and other executive agencies are there to ensure that the law are obeyed in the society. The three branches have the way that they regulate each other as detailed here, according to the Vault Smart ending. As the legislative is in charge of making the law, the president may sign or reject the law based on 2 of 3 of the votes of the Congress, and the court may find the law contradicting with the Constitution, which leads to its denial. While the judiciary are in charge of interpreting the law, the president has the authority to nominate the federal judges in the judiciary and the legislative have the power to review and approves or reject such presidential judges' nomination as well as other nomination of the officials. The president has the right to make treaties with other countries or organizations, but the legislative has to ratify them to be officially approved. The same thing with the legislative. They have the power to make the government budget, but the president must sign it to be officially approved, as well as other laws they make. Finally, legislative has the power to impeach an official from any or these branches, including their own branch, whenever they believe that they have breached some laws or the Constitution. Therefore, with all those distributed powers among those branches, that is how they regulate each other. Then, the third question: Democrats and Republicans are the major parties. Can you name the third party? So, the correct clarification about this question is that yes, there are other parties like Reform Party, Libertarians, Natural, and others. According to Locke and D, even though the two major ones are the Democrats and the Republicans, so this means that there is two-party system in the American political system. So let me give you a brief explanation about the history of how this two-party system started. So first, I would like to explain what a two-party system means. According to Lumen ND, a two-party system is a system in country where there are two dominant parties that any other one else to the high extent that is almost impossible for any other party other than any of the two to win any political campaign like the presidential campaign. Now, the history of how it started, according to US History ND, this system first started in 1796 election, where there were two political parties with strongly opposed principles. The Federalists, who were composed by most of the wealthy people like merchant, artisan, and creditors, and Democratic Republican Party, which was also referred to as Anti-Federalist, who were composed of more farmers and other Scottish ethnic groups. So Federalists who thought of themselves as the friend of order wanted to keep all the leadership powers to themselves, which was strongly opposed by anti-federalists who were thriving for the independence to all, as they thought of themselves as friends of equality rights and warm advocates of the free elective government. That is how the two parties system started, with the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, who were the two strongly opposition to each other. Furthermore, as time passed in 1829, the second party system rose from the spirit of Anti-Federalist to Democratic Republic. Due to the disagreement and left the formation of Jacksonian Democrats, the current Democratic Party that was led by Andrew Jackson and the Whig Party that was led by Henry Clay. The two-party system continued to evolve as in 1854, where the formation of a Republican Party happened and it included most of the principles of the Whigs. From then until today, there was the dominance of either the two parties, Democrats or Republicans, and this can be proven by the Roman. And then also, as mentioned above, there are other parties and their collective name is the third parties. It means that the third parties is their collective names for other remaining parties in the USA. They impact in the national politics in different ways. They influence the election outcomes on occasional basis. For example, when they decide to dedicate their votes to one of the two dominant parties, I mean the Democrats and the Republican, and sometimes candidates from the third party may obtain some of the elected position. For example, the Socialist Party that is headed by 600 mayoral offices, and Theodore Roosevelt obtained a significant number of votes in his presidential bid as the Progressive Party candidate in 1912, according to Roman ND. To understand why the influence in the veto in some occasions, the American voting system, the structure is that the winner takes all. meaning that whoever wins more votes in any state is awarded all votes from that state. Therefore, as the third parties have in mind that they will lose in the end, they might opt to dedicate their votes to one of the two parties, which would increase its chance of winning all votes from that particular state. Another impact of their existence is that they raise the awareness of the two major parties by highlighting some of the issues in the society that the two parties might consider noticing. Then the fourth and the last question was asking what is the basic process in which a bill becomes a law. So by explaining about this, I would saying that I'm going to give a brief process of how a bill becomes a law. First of all, a bill can be referred to a law that has not yet been officially approved. So below are the steps taken for it, the bill to become an official law, as explained by NIH 2020. Drafting the bill. From the members of the Congress, either Senate or House Representative, a bill can be drafted by anyone from those, as long as he or she has an idea of a law. The ideas may be from the Congress in general or the suggestion from the citizen or advocacy groups. Therefore, the first Congress member to support the drafted bill is called the sponsor, and the other that choose to support are called co-sponsors. Then second factor, the bill gets introduced. After drafting the bill, it gets introduced by its sponsors. If the sponsor is a senator, he or she then introduces it to the Senate. And when he or she is a representative, the bill is introduced to the House. That is to say that the bill gets introduced to the House or Senate based on who sponsor it. The bill goes to the committee. This is the third. After its introduction, it is taken to a committee. A committee is composed by different Congress members with different interests like the health or international affairs. Therefore, when handed the bill, their role is to carefully examine the bill for a better understanding and determine whether to let it pass or not. They use different ways, including holding hearings from better explanation and other. If the bill is not allowed to pass by the committee, it is then considered to be dead. Then the fourth factor, the subcommittee review the bill. When the bill is allowed to pass, then the committee hands it to the subcommittee, a small committee under the main committee for their own hearing and further studies about the bill. They may change the bill, but this means that they must to take it back to the committee for examination. Then the fifth factor, the committee mark up the bill. When the bill review and studies by the subcommittee are completed, the committee meets to mark up the bill. After this process, the committee makes some amendments and changes before reporting this to the floor. And these require voting from the committee. When the majority votes not to report it, the bill then dies. It is considered as dead. And when they vote to report it and gets reported to the floor is referred to as the full chamber of the either House Representative members or Senate members. Depends on who the sponsor is, as mentioned in the second step. So, sixth factor, the voting by the full chamber on the bill. When the bill is reported to the floor, the members then have some debates on the amendments and changes made and then vote for approving it. Therefore, it is passed or defeated, and when defeated, it is considered as dead. Then the seventh factor, referrals of the bill to other chamber. When the bill passes, then it is sent to other chamber and repeats the same process from 2 up to 6, as I said above. That is to say that if the bill passes this process while the sponsor was the senator, then the bill is sent to the House to repeat the same process. Reversely, if the sponsor is a House representative, the bill is sent to the Senate to repeat the same process. Therefore, This means that there is the probability that it might pass under one chamber but fail to pass in another one. However, if this case occurs, the two chambers can, for one mixed committee, include members of the Senate and the House to sort out any difference on how the bill is perceived by the two chambers, and when they fail to come to agreement, the bill then dies. When agreements are reached, they therefore make one mixed floor composed of both Senate and House members to vote for the bill to pass or not, and the majority of the votes determine the results. That means that if the majority votes to pass, it passes, and when not, it therefore dies. Then, the eighth factor, the bill goes to the president. When the bill passes that step, it is taken to the president to be signed and become an official law. Therefore, if he signed it, it immediately becomes a law again. If it spent 10 days without taking any action to it, automatically becomes a law. However, there is an instance where the president denied to approve the bill and he rejected it. This is called vetoing the bill. This doesn't, however, automatically mean that the bill is dead, unless the Congress does not take any action to the veto within 10 days. If 10 days are passed without the Congress taking any action, then the bill automatically dies. This is called pocket veto. Then the ninth factor, overriding a veto. This process only occurs when the president has vetoed the bill, but the Congress take action to override that veto within 10 days from the veto day. This is when all Congress members, senators, and House representatives sit together and vote for overriding the president's veto. And when 2 to 3 or 2/3 of the whole Congress approves it, the president's veto is ruled out and the bill becomes the law. When they fail to reach 2/3, the veto stands and the bill dies. This means that the president does not possess the full power of denying or approving the law. So, therefore, this is the end of the presentation, and I would like to thank all the participants who have helped me to answer the above question from their own understandings. I mean, the interviewees that I have used in this presentation. So, everyone, thank you very much. And I think by this presentation everyone was able to understand the three main branches of the US government and how does each role do. I think also in this presentation I've managed to explain the process by which a bill becomes a law, and then also in this presentation I managed to identify the third party apart from the Republicans and Democrats. Thank you very much.